She said that American soccer fans, most of them aren't smart. They don't know the game. They don't understand.
Gio.
That guy Gazpacho.
Bournemouth can take a lame gorilla, okay?
Right, did you know that Arsenal died?
These got me buzzing.
Up the toppies. It's hard to up them anyway.
I'm not even gonna comment on that. Welcome back to Footy with the boys. We are speaking in French for our Olympic brothers who got through the group stage for the first time since 2000 in the Sydney Games. We have done it. We'll be facing off against Morocco bright and early here in America at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central. Hakimi, you don't know what's coming for you. Today, we're going to get into some big news here around the footballing world. We'll get some transfer updates for a lot of our European clubs. Then we'll get into our U.S. men's national team corner where we're going to go through some transfer updates there. We'll, of course, go through the game against Guinea and preview the game against Morocco. Who maybe will be the next man up for the U.S. men's national team that's shown out here in the Olympics for the U.S.? And where do we need some of our U.S. players moving here, including some of these Olympians that may be boosting up their price for some potential moves here off of their play? Boys, let's get started in the big news. We have first, United Trey Curse hitting Manchester United once again with Yoroi getting injured almost immediately for Manchester United, out for up to 2 months with a fractured metatarsal. Had to make sure I was pronouncing that one right.
That's the one, yep.
But he's walking around in a boot. Boys, I mean, United Trey and his jinxes are they too strong for United to ever come back? Because, man, the second he starts tweeting, he is so happy about the signing, he's walking around in a boot the next day.
I don't think you can blame Trey for this one. I mean, the kid's 18. They immediately play him in every minute, like even the preseason. And to be fair, they don't have other people, so I kind of get it. And it took 30 minutes of a friendly that didn't feel too friendly against Arsenal for him to really come away a little hobbled. It looked like nothing, so credit for them to take him out quickly, but unfortunately he's injured for a little bit. So gonna have to wait in that Premier League debut, it looks like. Still a lot of talent there, but I think what I said when he came over stands. I'm really worried about an 18-year-old kid starting games like week in, week out in the Prem.
Week in, week out in the Prem is something for an injury, but Mike, it's the time we start asking some questions of these physios at Manchester United. I mean, they've had an insane amount of injury issues, and this brother got injured in 30 minutes of a friendly. What the fuck are they doing for warm-ups over there? Just saying, all right, kid, get out there, and that's it?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, a few guys being injured, that's whatever. But every single center back in that Manchester United roster has had injury issues. Varane, Martinez, Johnny Evans, Maguire. I mean, every single person, and then a bunch of other players as well. They've got to readjust because that is really, really poor. And if it's happening in the preseason, just wait till the games start going and you start playing 2-3 times a week.
Yeah, I mean, it'll certainly take some time for him to get used to the physicality of the Premier League. And if a friendly is hurting him like this, hopefully that doesn't lead to anything that lingers any further. Nick, and a friendly between Arsenal again here, but it's against Liverpool tonight. Salah getting on the score sheet there. What do you want to say about a dear friend party and anything else here? Looks like it's currently 2-1.
Yeah. Side note, for the next 15 minutes, I will be watching the rest of this game. So if I delay my response, I'm sorry. But it didn't look too great from the Gunners. Obviously, missing guys. They're missing guys too. I think two guys that the casual, or definitely one guy, but we'll start with Zinchenko hate just because that's kind of my brand now. God, I'm so sick of watching Zinchenko play. It's so bad. I didn't even notice that it was going to be Zinchenko versus Salah when like the lineups dropped. And then as soon as the game actually started and I saw Salah out there, I'm like, oh, well, we know where this first goal's coming from. So that happened about 15 minutes into the game as he didn't track back. Second goal, he was also at fault ball watching, although it wasn't just him. Thomas Partey too, as well as Jacob Kivier. I'm really nervous about Thomas Partey, guys. Like I think a lot of Arsenal fans still just like pencil him into the starting 11, like, oh, Partey, Rice, and Odegaard. Like that is an elite midfield, and I get it. Partey was insane for those first 2.5 years, but I think maybe it's his injuries or something, but he is not the same player physically. Like he in transition, he looks horrible. He looks lost. And I think that because of that, like he was so used to stepping so high on the press that now he just can't get back. And it is like scary in transitions watching him play the six. So he still looks great on the ball, finds passes, really elegant, all that stuff. But I do not want to see him in the starting 11 at least. If you're losing, you want to put him on. That's, I think, a great choice. But in big games, I'm really worried about Thomas Partey. A lot of people thought he was going to leave this summer, so a little surprised that hasn't happened. But maybe just not as many, opportunities for a six with Onana going to Villa and Zubimendi seemingly not wanting to go to England. So I get why he's still there. I am really worried about like relying on him this year. Aside from that, I thought it was pretty standard. Shout out King Kai on the score sheet. Zinchenko held who was it? Yoda onside, hit the post. So that's fun. I really hope I don't know when Zinchenko's gonna leave, but he's got to, right? Like he's gotta go.
Yep. I know recently the talk has been around Nico Williams, another winger, potentially a striker being brought in for Arsenal. But Nico Williams has kind of stated, or at least is rumored to want to stay at Athletic Bilbao for another season now. Kind of puts that to bed for Arsenal and for a lot of teams, including Barcelona as well, although Barcelona would have had to add Spotify, Apple Music, Uber Eats, Camp Now as their sponsor team. But who do you want for Arsenal to bring in as an attacker here? Because I don't feel confident for you with Havertz and Martinelli as that starting front three to
I have such a bone to pick with you. With every single episode I'm not here, you're always shitting on Martinelli and Trossard in the left wing as if that isn't a like really good left wing rotation.
That's not a title-winning left wing, Nick. Be honest with yourself.
Martinelli had a down year. I'm really confident that with an actual left side of the midfield this time around, he's going to be able to come back, and a left-footed player like at left back. I think Calafiori is going to help a lot with Martinelli. So I'm calling it right now: 20 goals and assists for Martinelli this season. Put it on a banner somewhere because it's happening. Okay, so fuck you with Martinelli isn't the guy that we think he is, because he is. Trossard is a fantastic rotational piece.
He was not last season. I think if you're wanting to win a title, you have to have depth. You have to push Martinelli. You can't just say, I hope he's better this season.
This is why conversations with you are so frustrating, because with every team outside of American players, you're such like a box score watcher. Like that's all you really see. And so especially on
off the box score was good last season.
No, I'm saying especially when you look at all of the context, the entire left side of Arsenal was dead last year. There was no ball progression through there. Declan Rice would like sprint with the ball forward when he played the 8. But even then, I still am willing to say that he is a better 6 than an 8, even though it looks like he'll probably play a lot of 8 unless Marino comes, which looks likely. So he might go back to the 6. I don't know. But we'll figure out the midfield later. I'm saying Kivier, 0 attacking threat. Tomiyasu, right-footed. And Zinchenko, a complete clown. So the left side of Arsenal's, like the left flank was horrible. It just was. And even when Zinchenko's good offensively, he's not playing out wide. So Martinelli was constantly isolated. He wasn't able to do it by himself. Also, he still exists. He's looked great so far in the preseason. It's just a preseason. Who cares? But he still exists. He also has been playing winger. I think he could be a good rotational piece there. He was our best player in that 1-0 win against City when Martinelli scored the winner, you dumb fuck. And I also
he is the solution for the issue
against the title side in the biggest moment of
non-existent on that wing last season, Nick. That's a reason why you
watched 4 Arsenal games last season. Don't talk to me about non-existent on last season. You don't know shit about Arsenal. Just because I'm biased, that doesn't mean that you're credible.
Martinelli was good for your wing.
I think Martinelli is a very good player, and he struggled last year because of the team around him.
Season? Okay.
No, because of the team around him.
All right, but
Am I not answering your question, you stupid,
Is it-
ignorant
is it-
shit? Like, what are you talking about?
is that
Bro.
not a position of need? You guys need to have
No,
competition
it's
there.
not a position of need. Listen,
You think
here's what Arsenal.
Trossard and Martinelli in the form that they've been in
Oh my god,
enough
please
to win
stop
a
talking to
title?
me. Mike, here's what Arsenal needs. Jared, shut up. Here's what Arsenal needs. I think they need a second actual. Martinelli is the only, I think, explosive player in the front three. I think they need a second guy of that maybe not caliber, but someone who can, like, in the turn of a second, get behind a defense on a transitional moment and, like, explode one-on-one. Okay, Saka can, but not to the extent of, like, real electrifying pace like a Martinelli. I think Nico Williams would have been great. I always thought that was kind of unrealistic. I always thought if he was going to move, it was going to be Barca. I think the guy that I would still like, is Pedro Neto. But I also think Gabby Jesus is a really good option out wide throughout the season. Do I think we could use another attacker? Yeah, I'd take another attacker. But at this point, I am much more worried about the midfield and the defense, although now with Calafiore we got that, than I ever was about the front three. I love our front three. I think the balance with Havertz being a guy who can play as a false nine, but is also very big and is effective linking up play, but also effective in the air, is fantastic. When he moved to the number 9 spot, guys, he had 18 goals and assists last season. 18. And he played half the season in midfield in a weird like, he didn't look threatening really in the midfield, if I say so myself, even though he was, like, solid, but whatever. So I have more faith in him than a lot of people do in the 9. And I adore Gabby Martinelli. I'm not going to get off the hype train because big things are going to happen for the man. I know it is. So, do I think Trossard's a good rotational piece then? Yes, I do. Do I think we could still add an attacker? I also think that too. If that's a guy like Gyökeres, the sporting kid who plays more as a 9, okay, then Jesus can be more of a rotational guy in the wing, or even start games on the wing because he's a big game player, I think. If it's a guy like Pedro Neto, who we've been linked to for a while, great. Then Jesus and Havertz can be played through the middle. Trossard has played through the middle effectively there before. So I think we need another attacker? I think we could use one, but I'm really excited about these Mikel Merino links more so than the attacking stuff. And I think we need to focus a little bit on outgoings because, I mean, again, Zinchenko's still there. That's weird. Reece Nelson's still there. That's weird. Fabio Vieira, I think, is quality, but he's not getting the time, so why keep him? There's Nketiah. Jesus Christ, he just popped up on my screen. Nketiah's still here for some godforsaken reason. Yes,
I think that
use
one's
another attacker.
negotiation at this point. Nketiah.
Yeah, it does seem like he's leaving for sure. That's fair. So hopefully that is true. He just missed a chance. Sorry, it's why I brought him up.
Listen, Mike, I'll give you a second to chime in here on Arsenal, and then we'll move on forward to some transfers. But what are you thinking in terms of, do they need more attacking talent, like what I'm saying, or do you think they're fine to win the title as is?
They definitely need more attacking talent. That's the way I see it. I think shoring up the defense was fine. Calafiore's a great player. Makes sense. A guy that Mikel wants, sure. But that's not a problem area. They conceded, fewer goals than anybody last year. They're rock solid. They have depth to a degree, which is good. They don't have depth up top. Maybe Jesus has looked good this preseason. Last year, he looked a step and a half slower than ever. He couldn't find the goal, even when he was playing in the center. So I don't think that's a guy you rely on. That's a guy I would cut out and try to recoup some money on. And Nketiah definitely has to go. He's just not at the Arsenal level. I know you agree with that. Reece Nelson, fine player, Arsenal guy, but not going to cut it, not going to break through. I think they need another winger, and they definitely need another 9. Kai Havertz has some things that he can offer, but a dude who's going to bag you a ton of goals, that's not him. A guy who's going to be really good target, that's not him. And sometimes he's going to ghost or get into bad patches. So you need another guy who's going to really press him and contend for a starting spot.
All right, Nick, I will move forward away from Arsenal, although I can see that you're stewing. So we move on from Arsenal to our transfers to talk about. And let's start with Arsenal. Mikel Merino. Merino coming over to Arsenal. Here we go soon on this one. Not actually confirmed, but Nick, we were talking about the midfield, the attack, what they need. I mean, certainly if he's playing the way he did for Spain in the Euros, this is a big move for Arsenal and shoring up that midfield there. How are you feeling about this one? About 30 million for this one. That doesn't seem like a bad fee for him.
No, it feels a little bit like the Trossard deal, right? Like a guy that you can rely upon when called upon. He's going to be a good player. He's going to have really good moments. He's never going to like carry the team. I think that's fair. But a guy that you can just plug and play. And it reminds me a little bit of like the Kovacic signing last season for Man City. Like you plug him in and you're never lacking any confidence. I do think that he is fantastic aerially, which once again adds to our huge stat of corners. I mean, that is a thing that can win you a title, I believe. I still stand by that. Again, I know people are saying attack. For me, like there's 5 players in attack that I feel really good with. So yeah, I could use a 6, but in midfield, I feel good with 3, I guess. You could say I feel great about Odegaard and Rice. Obviously, I do not feel good about Partey. I feel pretty good about Jorginho. I think Nwaneri is going to be a guy who's emerging this year, but you can't rely on a 17-year-old to be in the constant rotation. So I think another midfield was needed. There had to be a 4th guy that you can plug in there that is really going to, like, you can consistently start games week in, week out and not really miss a step. And I think Marino fits the bill. So I'm really, really excited about that. I'm excited about the fee. And I like the policy that we're doing right now. We're kind of like going 1 in, 1 out, Smith Rowe out. In comes Marino. Maybe if we're able to offload Nelson and Nketiah, then in comes an attacker. We're trying to become more sustainable, which is great because obviously this US money investment isn't going to last forever. They're more of like pump it quick and then let's see.
Good old Cranky. Mike,
Cranky.
moving over to our team, the Blues of Toffee, the Toffee Blues of Everton, that is, have a confirmed signing of O'Brien, 16 million euros, 27 appearances for Lyon. Given Everton's financial situation, obviously we got docked twice last season for FIFA Financial Fair Play. Is this a position that Everton really needed to invest in? And Everton needs some pretty influential signings here because we've lost to Salford in the preseason and then Coventry City, and we've looked not great. So not giving a lot of hope for the upcoming season. Is this a needed investment here?
I don't know if it's needed. Center back's our strongest position currently, but it's useful because we're not extraordinarily deep there, even though our 2 starters are phenomenal. I mean, once one of those guys can't play for a game or 2, you got fucking Michael Keane coming in or Mason Holgate. Ben Godfrey's gone now. Those are not good options. This kid is good. I've seen some clips, heard really great things. He's young. He's giant. He's 6'6", which is pretty good for our brand of ball. Very direct. We also play for a lot of corners and dead ball situations like Arsenal. So good to have a guy with that kind of presence. It does scare me that our attack has not changed at all. We're still going to rely on the same strikers essentially. And we know who they are and we know the kind of goal output that they have. But they didn't offload any of them. They're all still at the club. So you don't get rid of any of them. Excuse me. You're not going to bring in anybody else because we don't have the money to do it.
Yep. I think that, I don't know, with the money that Everton has, which is limited, I would like to see some other investment into maybe a midfielder or another attacker. But I mean, we are going to be a defensive team sat in. So yeah, if a center back goes down and we don't have an option, we're going to be fucked, as the kids say. Let's go to some quick hits here, Nick. We start with Chelsea, who signed another goalkeeper, Jorgensen from Villarreal, for 24.5 million euros. They also signed an 18-year-old goalkeeper from Genk and are going to loan him back out. Nick, do you think Chelsea understands that you can only play 11 players at a time? They have about 50 players that they own right now. What's going on?
I think Todd Bowley's new formation, strike again. I think he's going to try a 2 goalie in net kind of situation, and good luck scoring on that. So I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how they're getting the money. The story or the breaches in like 3 to 5 years are going to be immense. There's no way that what they're doing is legal. Just the amount of cash they're splashing doesn't feel right on guys that, I mean, no disrespect to this goalie, but I've never heard of this guy in my life. So I don't know. Hope they have had goaltending issues. They've thrown a lot of money at it. I mean, didn't they spend like 50 on Robert Sanchez or something like that? So,
Crazy.
I mean, I guess, don't let your mistakes stay mistakes. Keep swinging, but it doesn't feel sustainable. That's for sure.
Yeah, that is my thought. Is you're buying 50 players for pretty decent fees. Why not just make an absolute god squad and get 5 or 6 players at crazy fees
Yeah,
and
but
go for
who's
that?
signing for them?
I guess. I mean, you could go for an Osimhen. You could go for I don't know, so many players that I feel like could be somewhat of a step up from some of these, but it is Chelsea, so why try and understand the ununderstandable? Mike, quick hits here. Which move do you think is better between João Neves to PSG? That one is confirmed, or Dovbyk to Roma? Which one of those do you like more? Dovbyk not completely confirmed yet, but 60 million plus 10 million in add-ons for Neves and 36 million for Dovbyk.
I kind of like Dovbyk to Roma more. It's a wild move, especially when he's linked to Atleti. Roma's definitely a smaller club, competes for less generally, but he seems to have a good relationship with De Rossi, which was a huge factor apparently in his decision to go there. I think he'll absolutely light up the Serie A. I expect him to score a ton of goals. And Roma looked really good at the end of last season when they made that manager switch. So maybe they're trending upwards. Big move for him. Big move for them. Moving away from Lukaku, different striker profile, but a big dude.
Yeah. I mean, Tammy Abraham looks to be on the move, so that's a great replacement there. And speaking about Lukaku, Chelsea, once again coming up here, they are potentially interested in a Lukaku for Osimhen swap. Napoli does want Lukaku, so he's making his tour amongst Italy's top teams. And, of course, Chelsea wanting a striker again. Is this a good move for both sides here? Napoli getting a replacement for Osimhen kind of immediately with a Lukaku for what you'd imagine would be cheap, if not free, obviously, because you're sending over or getting sent money by Chelsea for Osimhen. And is Osimhen the right signing for Chelsea here?
I think it's great.
I don't know. Is anyone the right signing for Chelsea?
That may be true.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know if
feels...
it's right for the player. I think it's right for the club. I think it's a good signing. He easily starts. He's easily the best attacking player.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's a massive upgrade in that regard. Will it work out? New manager, still a young team, a lot of crap going on.
Hasn't really played.
He's not a striker though. He's more of a second
guy
or an attacking mid.
Leipzig, though.
It's like a second striker kind of guy, I'd say.
Yeah, I think he could fit them both in the squad.
Yeah.
And I think it's be really good for Lukaku. I think he always does well in the Serie A. Good for Napoli. They get a replacement. Still a dude who's going to score a ton of goals. And if the money's good, I mean, you got to do it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens there. We'll keep our tabs on that one. Other rumors, Conor Gallagher to Atletico Madrid potentially here. He did turn down a chance to be one of the top 3 paid players at Chelsea, so he's certainly maybe looking for a different place to play his ball. Pep leaving the door open for Julian Alvarez, who's currently at the Olympics with Argentina, to leave Manchester City. Alvarez did say that, look at the minutes that everybody played at Man City last season. I was among one of the top. But at the end of the day, I also do want to be the person who he relies on in the biggest games on the biggest stage. So it's a tough decision. So we'll see what he ends up deciding here. Obviously, it'll come after the Olympics here when he starts thinking about that future. But I'm sure his agent is already reaching out and getting reached out to quite a bit. And Liverpool turning down an Endo offer. Endo, what a signing that ended up being for Liverpool when a lot of people at the very start of that was a bit scratching their head at if he would at all be a success. Boys, where would you want to see Julian Alvarez go, if anywhere?
Barcelona.
Barcelona would be sick.
Sure.
Yeah, I really don't know. It feels like Barcelona would kind of be the ideal spot for him. If João Felix lives at Atletico, I could see that happening too. which feels more and
Is
more
John Felix
likely.
at Atletico still?
Is he not?
That's his parent club still. Nick, if I'm
It
you,
is, yeah.
I'd want to bring Julian into the Emirates, dude.
Yeah,
Another
but
Man
that's
City
not.
Arsenal swap.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. This isn't.
Send him Nketiah for
Zinchenko.
Julian.
Yeah, this.
We'll send you back
There's
Zinchenko
zero
and
chance
Jesus.
that Pep would okay that deal.
Yeah, that would be a no-go from the good
Also,
old
people
Pepperino.
forget, like when Jesus and Zinchenko came in that previous season, we finished like 20 points behind City. Like that wasn't like we weren't their competitors at that time.
You
We
weren't the
very much
threat,
are
no.
now. So
Yeah. Well, let's switch on over to a U.S. standpoint here. We'll get into the Olympics. We beat Guinea. Got to celebrate that. But first, keep with the transfer vibes here. Tanner Tessman has been a standout here at the Olympics. And now recent reports after, Inter Milan move kind of fell apart due to some agent issues. It sounded like he got a new agent. And talks with Fiorentina are quote unquote quickly advancing. So he could be on his move to a higher side there in Serie A. And Fiorentina look like they're making some moves this summer. What do you think of Tanner Tessman moving to Fiorentina, bigger club in Italy? Venezia, he'd obviously have his role cut out for him. He's kind of their guy, but is it a good time for a move to a bigger club for Tanner? Mike?
Sure. I think he can make even a slightly bigger jump, but you always run the risk of falling down the pecking order. When he was rumored to Inter Milan, I was nervous for that very reason. It's a good move regardless. Strong midfield, stronger team than Venezia. Most likely will have a secured spot in Serie A rather than being in a relegation fight, which is good. We want those guys to play in the top flight at all times.
Yeah, definitely. And Tanner Tessman has been something. We'll get into it more when we're talking about the Olympic team and their performance. Nick, I want to go to you for this one. Weston McKennie has been shut out of Juventus. Tell me if you've heard this before, being last season, this exact time, he no longer had a locker, no longer had a number, and was told he needed to find a new team. He's been told that again. And he has interest from Everton and Fiorentina, again, popping their name up with an American midfielder here. Obviously, Tanner Tessman may be hurting the chance of Fiorentina and Everton. I can't imagine they have that much funds for this. Where do you see McKennie fitting best? I think a lot of people have said he'd be good to go back to the Bundesliga, but what's his level? What does McKennie need for the next right step in his career?
I like the Premier League from, if I'm being honest. How much was the Lindstrom transfer for Everton? Do we have that number?
Like 16 or something, I think.
Like 17, 16.
Yeah, I mean, you have probably 15 to 20 left over from the Onana deal alone to finish this Weston deal, because 16 for Lewis, 16 for Lindstrom. I like that move a lot. I think it'd be great for the pod, obviously, but I think he's kind of, he could get back to his style of being like a real box-to-box guy. I think that role would be there for him at Everton. I don't see too many midfielders that would immediately be, blocking his pathway to the 11. Even if like there's some competition, I mean, I guess, but their best midfielder Onana's gone. So I actually really, really like the Everton move. I don't think Fiorentina is the right step for him. I do think it's the right step for Tessman because, I mean, let's be real, Venezia, fun story and everything, but they're not the level of a guy with the potential talent that Tessman has. McKennie, I think, has proven enough at this stage in his career in Europe that he should be playing in like a really competitive league or in like an upper echelon, not maybe upper echelon, but like upper echelon adjacent kind of team. So like, I wouldn't hate someone like Marseille, for example, or Sevilla, or I know Sevilla came up a lot with Gio, and so did Marseille. Or Everton in the Prem. Any team in the Prem, I think, is a great move for Weston. And so for vibes, Everton, but also just for the next step in his career, I like Everton.
I mean, for a team that gets a whole lot of crosses into the box and need a header, that is something that Weston is pretty decent at. And
he's
Sean
good at
Dyche
it.
would certainly whip him into shape. Would not be Sean Dyche if he did not get his players ready to just be absolute dogs. And That is when Wes McKinney is at his best, when he's running around being a dog. Next is our moon boy, Diego Luna, snubbed from the Olympics, not snubbed from some European interest here. He has had a hell of an MLS season so far. I think he's second right now still in assists in the league, only behind one Lionel Andres Messi. And he has gotten some interest from 3 different leagues in Cadiz in Spain, Anderlecht in Belgium, and Venezia, our friends over there in Italy. Mike, which one of these would be the best move in terms of level, in terms of fit for Diego Luna? Obviously, much different than what the U.S. currently has, a very creative player.
I'd probably go with Cadiz. Strongest league. I think his skill set translates to La Liga very well.
Shut the fuck up,
And I don't know. Anderlecht. Venezia's that's scary because I think they could go down, and then the Belgium league is not nearly as strong. It's got to be Cadiz.
Yeah, I mean, I think Venezia could be decent. I'd worry about how much attack Venezia will have in this area, because they're going to be probably fighting for relegation the entire season. But also, they have developed Busio and Tanner Tessman quite well, so I do trust them in their development there. Speaking of Anderlecht, though, another Olympic, well, I guess not another Olympic. Sorry, Diego. An Olympic kind of standout, Griffin Yao, has been rumored to make a move to Anderlecht. They're very interested, but that price tag may have just moved up. Westerlo is going to be saying, where is the money now? He had an amazing performance against Guinea in his first start for this Olympic team. What do we think of a move to Anderlecht, or do you think that has maybe moved up a little bit, where he might be drawing some interest outside, because he performed like a madman in that game? Nick?
It's one game, bro. Anderlecht's fine. That's a good move for him. It's okay. He looks talented. Anderlecht is also going to be like competing for things, like big things in the Belgium league. So I think like going to a team with that kind of winning mentality, he'll be very insulated there. Won't be an everyday starter. I don't think he needs to be at this point in his career. So I like that move. I don't hate it at all. And I mean, if he goes to anything bigger than an Anderlecht, like, he just won't play. So I like the Anderlecht move.
Yeah, I think he's one of those names that he's not going to jump a crazy high name and potentially sit on the bench. He needs that smaller jumps, smaller stepping stones for him to continue to develop. But one guy that maybe does not need the small stepping stones, or has not had them in his career, it has been since 16 years old at Borussia Dortmund, is Gio Reyna, our star boy. He has been out of the plans here at Borussia Dortmund. They want to move forward with Julian Brandt as their attacking midfielder, and have other players they want to continue to move up in their youth development. Gio Reyna has still some interest from Marseille that is kind of lasting over from the last time he was looking for a new team. That team is now managed by Roberto De Zerbi. They've already brought in some players like Mason Greenwood. We won't talk much about him, but we will talk about Eddie Nketiah as another player that's been being brought in, reportedly. So there is some attacking talent coming into that side that Gio Reyna could mesh with there. And I do think, like we said last season, De Zerbi and Brighton style play, Olympique Marseille could fit a Gio Reyna here. Do you think Marseille is a good spot for him? I know Sociedad, Sevilla were mentioned last time as well that may still have interest. Of those 3, obviously Marseille being the most interested. What are you guys going with? Mike, I'll start with you.
Send him to Marseille. Yeah, I sign it. Needs to play, will play at Marseille. Will be able to show his attacking talent in that league a lot. And I think he'll learn a lot playing under De Zerbi. Great manager. The tactics are there. I think it's a perfect move. Yeah,
and De Zerbi, though, the one concern I have is he took Pascal Gross, who was kind of that 10, dropped him deeper, because he does have that philosophy of he wants some more creative players further back in their attack so that they can create from the back. Is that something you see happening to Gio, or do you think Zerbi still says, you know what, fuck it, let's throw him where he actually needs to be?
Could happen.
Yeah, I think it's a possibility for sure. I like Sociedad for him if he has like guaranteed playing time. If not, just whichever club will play you, brother. Like
Yeah.
get some real confirmations. Don't worry about the Premier League, so I'll choose Nottingham. Don't worry about your agent. Get like concrete confirmation of minutes, and that's where you should be.
Yeah, I think
I don't
if
think
you're
him
in
dropping
minutes,
deeper.
he's set.
I don't think dropping deeper is necessarily a bad thing either. I think Gio can be effective. He's a good enough ball striker and passer to be effective in those positions. We see him do it at the US sometimes, which doesn't work that well because our movement on the ball as a team is not great. It's not the case with the Zerbi's teams. Very, very fluid. So I could see it working. I wouldn't get too worked up about that.
Yeah. All right, let's get into it, boys. Gio Reyna is an Olympic eligible player. He's not at the Olympics, but the boys at the Olympics are showing out with a 3-0 win versus Guinea to send them to the knockouts. They'll be playing against Morocco. But first, this game against Guinea, we take out Duncan Maguire, our big man up top, and we put in a false 9 in Paxton Aronson, slot in Griffin Yao on the wing. And boys, that front three was absolutely buzzing. Kevin Paredes with a brace, Paxton Aronson with a beautiful assist on the second goal, and Georgi Mihailovic. Where the fuck did that come from, that free kick? What a strike that was. I tell you what, there's been a lot of shit said about Georgi Mihailovic, and a lot of it is true that he's not been great. But god damn it, that free kick was something else, boys. Outside of Georgie and Walker and Miles and all those overage players, I think the big question that a lot of people are asking now is who's up next for the U.S. men's national team? Who can be the one to break through? Who can be the one to kind of push the competition of the U.S. men's national team, the senior squad, for the World Cup, for the friendlies coming up and all these camps? Mike, who have you chosen as your next up here?
I picked Tanner Tessman. Talked about him a lot on this podcast, over previous episodes. It's been a standout player for good reason. Yes, he's been a standout player with this Olympic roster. To break into the senior midfield is another task, especially with how deep it is, probably the deepest area in our current selection of players. A lot of guys who play in bigger teams. But I think what he has going for him, he's a different profile than any other midfielder we have currently, especially in the 6 area. Much different than Johnny, much different than Tyler Adams. I think he's calmer on the ball than definitely Tyler. Johnny would be close. I don't think I've
seen anybody as calm as him.
No.
He looks like
I think links well, and I think he does the work well. And if we're going to play a press, I think he does that very well. Can he break in right now? No. But with another season of good play, I think it's definitely in the cards.
Nick, you have something to chime in on our boy Tessman here?
Yeah, I do think that the profile isn't too dissimilar from Johnny, just way more athletic. Like just much more
just
able to cover ground.
Yep.
Yeah, so I want to say we don't have that profile, but I do think he's possibly at this point, maybe not exactly, but maybe we're disrespecting Johnny right now just based on Tanner playing well, but he definitely has a higher ceiling.
Johnny should have that wrong. Yeah. Johnny should have that edge, but Tyler Adams continues to have injuries, so you don't really want to just have Johnny as your only option at the CDM, and Tanner Tessman's certainly making himself available for these camps as he looks stupidly calm on the ball and always finding the little toe poke, little touch pass, little splitting the defender pass that needs to be. Nick, Tanner Tessman, off the table, who is your choice for who could break in first here? Who could lead the U.S.? Or not lead the U.S., that might be a far step, but who can break into the U.S. squad here?
I think, breaking into the squad is different than breaking into the 11, obviously. And I think a real area of where we're lacking is just depth on the wings. I know the popular answer is Paredes, especially after his most recent game. The brace was good, I would say. He definitely well taken. But I don't know. I still see so much more development in his game that I don't think he's ready to be in that camp. someone who plays a little bit more of an all-around game while still being like pretty electric, in my opinion, is Paxton Aronson. And I think that he could serve pretty well as a depth piece. I've said before that I prefer his brother over Paxton. I like Brandon a little bit more. I still stand by that, but I'm falling less and less in love with Timmy Weah. Like maybe Brandon starts and Paxton's a depth piece and Weah's, situational. I don't know, but I do think that area of the squad is weak as far as depth. Obviously, our best players there, but my favorite of the kind of winger profile, even though he's very effective as that false 9-2, is Paxton Aronson. So that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, I mean, Paxton Aronson has been top of the talent pool for a long time. He was CONCACAF player of the tournament in just about every youth tournament he was playing in. He's constantly been a star for that age group and continues it here in the Olympics, being a constant threat in the attack, although not being the high scorer of Kevin Paredes in this most recent game and grabbing all the headlines. But yeah, a constant attack. I think the consistency is what maybe is important, because Kevin Paredes and even Griffin Yao, just the one game, you haven't seen that consistency quite yet. But Paxton,
yeah, for sure,
saucy player indeed. My player, I want to say Kevin Paredes. I wanted to say maybe a Griffin Yao can break in, or even a John Tolkien and Nathan Harriel, because they played so well on the outside backs. But I went with kind of where the U.S. is struggling right now, and that's the goalkeeper position. I'm going with Patrick Schulte. He's been on some very good form for Columbus Crew. Obviously won the MLS Cup, and although he had a tough first game against France where I feel like he could have made some saves, I don't know if that was nerves or anything, but he has shown up these last two games. He's had some wild reaction saves, just throwing up a hand and blocking things over. The way he kept this shutout versus Guinea, they were certainly able to, have some chances, have some shots on net and some real close chances late. But I mean, Patrick Schulte, the path for him is also wildly easy. Matt Turner is really that kind of big option that's been our starter, and not like he's on any type of great form, or I don't even know what he's going to do for his club situation. Ethan Horvath can say the exact same thing for him, and Sean Johnson was our third option in Copa America, so
Yeah,
I mean, Gaga
bad.
Slonina also on this roster. Both of these guys could be the next up, and Gaga Slonina's not even playing in this tournament, but man, either of them really. I mean, is a goalkeeper position starting to be a worry for you guys, Mike?
It's always been a worry. I think Matt Turner's still the best stat shopper. Well, always been a worry since Tim Howard retired, and that's been a while. So we'll say always. I think Matt Turner's still the best shot stopper. He's holding on by a tiny little margin at the moment. Patrick Schulte is definitely better with his feet. Not perfect. Still has some straight passes, but much calmer with possession than Matt Turner, which is nice. Definitely good to see the goalkeeper who can do something with their feet. And he is a good shot stopper. If he could make a jump, I think MLS is holding him back a little bit. Not the biggest thing with a goalkeeper, I would say, compared to a field player. But I don't know. If Matt Turner comes back to the MLS, why the hell wouldn't he lose position, right?
I mean, yeah.
Listen, I think
28, not getting any younger, and Schulte is the young option. So
28's not old for a keeper. Let's not go crazy.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, if they're at the same level, Schulte's younger and performing at a high level.
Are they at the same level?
Not far off, I would say.
If they're both in MLS and they're performing the same, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's fair. I do think that the real question is, who would Steve Cherundolo pick? Because that's what it's going to come down to.
Oh God, I'm in pre-PTSD on hearing that name. But hopefully we don't see him. Let's close out with a little preview of our game against Morocco. It's happening once again Friday morning here in the U.S. Facing off against Achraf Hakimi and Morocco. They brought the big men for them. They also brought a very talented striker that was a massive player for his team over there in the Middle East, winning the Champions League of Asia. And they also have some La Masia products and some wingers and some midfielders. They also have American, Moroccan, French dual national Amir Richardson, who was a son of an NBA player to a French-Moroccan mother. America tried to recruit him. He's 6'4" and an insanely good center defensive mid. So we're going to see him. It's going to be the Amir Richardson derby here. But, Mike, what are the odds here against Morocco? We've looked rather good. Even against France, for about 60 minutes, we looked good. So about 30 minutes of the tournament, I say we've kind of looked poor. But other than that, I mean, the team's been flowing. Now we have an interesting look with a false nine that I don't know if is easy to really prepare for because it is so fluid. What are the odds of getting through here? And if we get through here, I mean, 2 games for a medal.
I don't know. I think the odds are probably somewhere around 50-50. I caught a little bit of Morocco's group stage. It looks solid. I think we'll perform well. I think we're going to have a good match, regardless of the outcome. It's going to be down to goals.
Usually is.
Can we keep him coming? It always is down to goals, but I think it's going to be coming down to scoring them. I think conceding them, I think defensively will be okay. We'll see who's firing. If Kevin Paredes could have another performance similar to Guinea, if he looks dynamic, he's pressing like the same way, I like our odds.
Yeah, Nick, I think Morocco may have learned a lesson from Guinea to not give Kevin Paredes space to dribble or shoot. But do you think he can maybe help out the US here in his flopping, his generational flopping ability to kind of break up the game? Because Morocco are going to want to play fast. Their wingers are direct, they are fast, they're going to get at you. If he can just slow down the game, control the pace a little bit, how much does that help the US in this one?
Yeah, I have a lot less faith in our defense than I guess Tracy did, because I think that's the key of the game. These guys are true to Moroccan form. They are saucy. So I think it's gonna, maybe. I don't think Paredes flopping is gonna be the X factor. I guess you could say it'll help slow down the game a little bit. I honestly think it's gonna be more in the US to match their pace. And like you said, with this front three, these guys have been playing in that system for a really long time. It is hard to prepare for, in my opinion. So it's going to come down to the front three being able to match what Morocco does, because I don't have too much faith that it's going to end in a clean sheet for us.
Yeah, I would bet a lot of money that Morocco ends up scoring. So it's going to be if the U.S. can score more than Morocco, not just playing kind of a stingy bout here. I think John Tolkien is going to be a player to watch in this one. Him and Griffin Yao on that side with Hakimi are going to have to be putting in some big defensive effort. Griffin Yao looked more than up to putting in some defensive effort, but he is going to have to be tracking back quite a bit because Hakimi, combining with the wingers there, is going to be wildly dangerous. John Tolkien has been mostly attacking as an outside back so far in this tournament. Going to have a much different job in this one with the personnel that Morocco have. But of course, you guys will have a reaction here from us after that one. We'll let you know what happens, and hopefully we'll be talking about a potential medal for the U.S. in the Olympics. That would be absolutely massive for the game in this country. Pulisic and Musa just came on against Real Madrid for AC Milan here in Chicago at Soldier Field. So, of course, we have to go. I'm already repping them. But until next time, this has been Footy with the boys. Peace.
Peace.